Okay, guys, we are supposed to be live right now. I don't know if all of you could hear me. Just want to check that the audio is fine for everyone. Okay, we're gonna wait just 5 more minutes. And then we will start with this webinar. I understand that some of you might have had a bit of confusion regarding the schedule. That it's basically because there was a bit of a confusion between Eventbrite and Facebook Live, but you should be able to hear me now properly. Okay, we have one viewer. I'm just gonna wait a bit more. I will mention it later. I'm basically gonna follow a presentation, but if you guys have any questions regarding any of this, you can wait until the Q&A later today, or you can just contact me privately. But yeah, I hope that this webinar will be clarifying for most of you. Okay, so let's start. Let's start by saying what it is about. Okay, this seminar is basically with the intention of providing free and independent advice to jewelers, jewelry students, or basically anyone who is interested in making jewelry, making CAD. I will introduce myself a bit later, but I just want to clarify that this is independent. That means we don't work for any company. This is just myself. So I don't have agreements with software resellers, software creators. However, I do offer training. Okay, so at the end, I might show you a little bit the courses, my training, but I'm not here to sell you training. So if you want to take the courses, fine. If you don't want to take the courses, fine as well. This webinar is in English, but I'm gonna make another one in Spanish probably next week. I still need to arrange a few things, but yeah, probably it's gonna be next week. Right, brief introduction about myself. I'm a jeweler. I started making jewelry when I was 15, 16. I immediately started with Rhino 3, I think it was by then. And yes, I've been working for Rhino, the developer of Rhino TDM solutions. And I've been also instructing courses for GenVision, the official reseller of GenVision in Spain. I am an authorized Rhino trainer, and at the moment I'm working in London for a jewelry company. We basically make CAD work, and of course I need to be familiar with 3D printing, 3D scanning, and all of this. And of course, out of this, outside my job, I create my own courses online, and yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to follow me on Instagram, feel free to do that. I'm also on LinkedIn if you want, all of that. Okay, let's start talking about CAD software. Okay, there's been a bit of a confusion lately regarding CAD. So I just want to explain a bit what it's out there. These are the software that are available to make jewelry. However, you could make jewelry with whatever you want, really. I'm just going to explain the famous ones and the more important one. I'm replying to your comments. Sorry, this is a bit improvised. It's the first time I use Facebook Live. Okay. So as I was saying, I'm going to go through different software that are being used for jewelry. Let's start with Rhino. Rhino is not a jewelry software per se. Rhino is a software that it was initially designed to make boats, like naval design, but because of its simplicity and because it's quite easy to learn, it's been used for other things as well. So, as I said, Rhino, by definition, Rhinoceros has no jewelry tools, but you can make jewelry with Rhino. Then Rhino allows for other people to develop plugins for them. So what it's possible is for other companies to work alongside Rhino and create little plugins that make it easier for you to make other things, from jewelry to shoes to architecture. So in a way, Rhino is like the base, the foundations for other software. Okay. So in that category, we would have Rhino Gold, Matrix, Matrix Gold, and two shapes in a way. Okay. Those would be the Rhino-based plugins for jewelry. Right. I just want to check something for a second. It might be that some of you have no access to the course. Just want to reply a few messages before I carry on. This is going to be recorded later, so you're going to have everything available. Right. Give me 5 seconds. And you should be able to see it. Okay. I don't think you can comment here. Okay. I've just put a message there, so you should be able to see everything now. Okay. Right. So what I was saying, we have Rhino as the basic of everything. Then we have some little plugins, or not so little, for Rhino. So you basically buy them separately. And then we have, of course, other software like 3Design, ZBrush, and Jewellery CAD Dream, which have absolutely nothing to do with Rhino, but you can make jewelry with that. Then we have Grasshopper, which I'm going to explain a bit more what it is about because it's quite new and it could be a bit confusing. But what I believe is that the main confusion for everyone is between Rhino, Rhino Gold, Matrix, and Matrix Gold. A lot of people are confused about that, so let's talk about that. Right, as I was saying, this is a bit of a little graph explaining what I've just said pretty much. Rhino, not specific for jewelry. Then some companies, they develop little plugins for jewelry. These plugins could be Tech Gems, that it will rename as Rhino Jewel, then Rhino Gold, and then Matrix. With those three, you can make jewelry with that. They have specific jewelry tools like pave tools or like finger sizes, these sort of things. However, with Rhino, you can make other things. If you want to make architecture, you can use Rhino Terrain, Rhino Nest, Bongo for animations, and there are like hundreds. Okay? But they all depend on Rhino. So you need to install Rhino first, and then another little software. Okay? Right. I want to explain a little bit what happened in the last couple of years between Rhino, TDM Solutions, and GenVision and Stola. Because it's been a bit confusing, so I just want to clarify the whole thing. For the record, just want to insist, I do not have any agreement with anyone. I haven't been affected by any of this. I just want to provide a bit of explanation. Okay, okay, I just want to clarify. Give me 1 second. Some people cannot get in on the webinar yet. Okay. Okay, I think it should be sorted now. Okay, so as I was saying, we have Rhino, then we have little plugins like Rhino Gold and Matrix. That initially, for example, Rhino Gold was TDM Solutions. So TDM Solutions, they got Rhino and they developed a jewelry plugin and they name it Rhino Gold. Pretty much the same with Matrix, although the interface is quite different. But basically we had two different companies that developed plugins for jewelry. Matrix was probably the big brother, like it was a bit more powerful at the beginning, but for the last maybe 6 or 8 years, TDM Solution did much more development on the software than did Matrix. So anyhow, what happened was that Stola, they bought GenVision, and later on they bought TDM Solutions. So basically, at some point they were competitors, now they were more like brothers and sisters. They were friends because basically they had the same owner. So what it was obvious that it would happen is that both softwares would merge into one. So basically Rhino Gold and Matrix joined together into a new software called Matrix Gold. Of course, owned by Stola. So basically Stola got much bigger in terms of software. Okay. Then parallel to this, I'm going to explain later a bit more in depth, but one of the main advantages of Matrix Gold, it was that they managed to create more parametric tools. So parametric and Grasshopper, it's something that is related. Just to make like a brief explanation of what parametric means. Parametric means that it allows you to change and modify something without needing to remake the whole thing again. Some softwares like 3Design, that I'm going to talk about it later, they are natively much more parametric than any other Rhino-based software. Okay? But Rhino by itself, and everything that involves Rhino, by nature, it's not parametric. So basically, you need another tool, another little software called Grasshopper to create parametric stuff. Okay? So Grasshopper is like a programming language that you basically build, that you use alongside Rhino, basically. And we'll show a little bit how it works a bit later. But basically, Grasshopper, it's like a tool that allows you to make parametric modeling. Okay. Okay, so this is pretty much what happened the moment that Stoller released Matrix Gold. So when Stoller was about to release Matrix Gold, what they said to all Rhino Gold and Matrix users is that, of course, they were trying to push an upgrade. So they kind of aggressively tried to push people to update to Matrix Gold. But of course, the deal was, if you give us your Rhino Gold or your Matrix license, then you can buy Matrix Gold for whatever money. It makes sense, yes, in a way. Like, it's a new software, completely different, and it has a lot of updates. But some people decided to buy it, some people decided not to buy it. That's completely fine. But of course, the thing was that the moment that you upgrade, the moment that you decide to buy the software, you no longer have your software. Okay. And the problem was that Matrix Gold at the beginning, when it was released, it wasn't, let's say, working properly at the beginning. I don't really have the software, but that's what I've been told. I am aware that there has been many updates on the software, so now it's working better than before. But still, the fact was that would create confusion. That first of all, the name changed, so people got confused about that. But also the fact that you need to update to any software and you no longer have your own software. Right. I'm gonna briefly explain the softwares, all of them. Okay, so as I was saying, Matrix and Rhino Gold. Matrix has always been a bit like the bigger brother. Like, the interface was different than all the Rhino plugins. There was also a thing with pricing. Like, the pricing of Matrix at the beginning, it was quite expensive. And Rhino Gold at the beginning, it was much cheaper. But as I said before, Rhino Gold had made much more development than Matrix. So Rhino Gold had increased the prices slowly. So let's say that Rhino Gold was they were almost at the same level at some point. For the record, all of these softwares, Matrix, Rhino Gold, Rhino, well, let's talk about Matrix and Rhino Gold only. You cannot buy them anymore, but that doesn't mean that you cannot use them. Like, there is no support from Stoller, let's say, or GenVision, but doesn't matter. You can still use them. Okay. A lot of people have mentioned or have complained then, for example, if they have a Matrix license, it's not working as good as it used to be working before. That is not, it's quite easy to blame the company for that, to blame GenVision or Stoller for that. It's not really that. What happened was that the software is not getting updates, so it's not being so compatible with Windows. That's why it's not working. Okay. You can think that there is a conspiracy from the company for you so that they push you to get the new software. If you want to think that, fine, but I generally don't think it's that. Okay, Matrix Gold, natural combination of Rhino Gold and Matrix. They didn't put much effort on the name. Complete redesign of the interface. Well, it's kind of familiar to Matrix, for those that we've been using Matrix for quite a while. It has some very interesting modeling tools in terms of how things are built, how they build the rings. As I said, in my opinion, it was released too early. Some tools were not working at all. I'm just talking by experience of friends using it and people complaining on the internet about it. So that's the thing that I want to make clear with all this presentation. I think I'm going to mention it later. I got another slide ready for this. You need to get the software that you need, not the software that they want you to buy for. Okay. As I said, there have been some updates. I believe it's working better now. But as far as I know, there are things that are like basic stuff and it's not really working. Grasshopper. Okay. What is Grasshopper? All these lines that look a bit like Matrix like the movie. This is like programming language. Yes, it is extremely confusing, and in my opinion, it's extremely boring to learn. It's like learning programming again. It's not learning a new software. However, for some people, it might be worth to learn because it's extremely powerful. Basically, how it works is, first of all, it's free. It was developed by David Rutten, I think it's his name. And it works alongside Rhino, just Rhino. You only need Rhino. So you basically open Rhino and you type in Grasshopper. I think it has to be Rhino 6, actually Rhino 5 as well. And you get a new window and you basically model everything that you're going to be modeling. You model that with these boxes and these lines. It's very, yeah, I mean, it's like a programming language, so it's quite frustrating. Personally, because I don't really use parametric stuff much, because of the type of work I do, I haven't got much into that. Well, I tried, but as I said, it's just extremely boring. Peacock. Peacock is a plugin for Grasshopper. So basically, you have Rhino, then Grasshopper inside Rhino, and Peacock inside Grasshopper. There are many plugins for Grasshopper, but basically, Peacock is specific for jewelry. It basically allows people, any user with not much experience in Grasshopper, just basic experience in Grasshopper, to model parametric jewelry effectively. It has some jewelry tools like gems, like setting styles, metal weights, all these sort of things. And it's free. The only problem with that, well, it's not really a problem. It's just that it's quite new and there hasn't been much development yet. But personally, I think it has a lot of future. It just, with this software that involves Grasshopper, technically it's a plugin, not a software. The learning curve is quite steep, so it could be quite tough. It's not like Matrix or Matrix Gold. In these softwares, like I'm going back again, Matrix Gold or even Matrix at some point, they all have like fancy tools that make you model things easy. Okay, so the interface is quite friendly. It's quite easy to use. Like somebody with Matrix Gold in 10 minutes, even if they haven't opened a software ever before, they can already model stuff. Okay, in Grasshopper, no way. Okay, then we have Panther 3D. Panther 3D, it's basically Rhino with Grasshopper with some jewelry tools. It's quite similar to Peacock in a way, but Panther is more like a complete solution. Basically, because you also have things like a powerful render on it. The render from Panther and the render from Matrix Gold, it's the same. Of course, they don't tell you it's the same, but internally, it has the same thing inside. Okay. I'm just gonna check on students for a second. Have tech problems. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm in the right place. Thank you. Are you watching the webinar? That was a minute ago. Okay, that's a reply from another user. Okay. Okay, oops. I don't know. Okay. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so as I was saying, Peacock and Panther 3D are softwares that allow to make parametric stuff quite easily. I just want to show an example of what something parametric could be. Let's say that you have a design of a ring, like solitaire ring. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna just Google an example. Should be able to see my screen. Solitaire ring. Okay, here's one. Okay. Okay, so imagine. Actually, let's go for this one. Okay, let's imagine that I have this ring. Yeah. So we have the file saved for this. And in the same week, I have the same customer or different customers asking me, I want this ring, but I want the stone to be 2 carat and the melee stones on the sides, I want them 1 mil. Okay, so you can work on that design. But then half an hour later, another customer or someone else comes to you like, oh, I want the same one, but 2 finger sizes smaller. In a normal world without parametric tools, you will need to start from scratch pretty much. If you have parametric tools, you might just need to check these options. What was that? You see these parameters on the sides? So what you will need to do is just to adjust those parameters and the ring will automatically adjust. There is something to consider here. At this very moment, everyone will try to sell you parametric tools. This is the future and all of that. You have to be quite careful with that. What do I mean with that? For example, in my case, I never make the same ring twice. So do I really need parametric tools? I don't think so. There is something else to consider as well. It's not the same if you're a, let's say, natively Rhino user, like myself, or if you are someone who started later on and started directly with one of these fancy softwares. What do I mean by that? This ring that I just showed you, okay. To make this ring, it would take me, I don't know, let's say 25 minutes, okay? To edit the ring, it would take me another 10 minutes, even if I need to change the center stone or the sides. Does it make sense for me to invest in a new software? At this very moment, it doesn't. So that's why I don't use it. It's simple as that. If you're gonna, for the type of jewelry that you're gonna make, if you're gonna make the same design in different variations, if you know that you're gonna do that, then it makes sense. But if you don't, maybe it doesn't. All of this thing with all these new software that are coming out now, like Panther, Peacock, Matrix Call, all of this, it's all these new softwares, they come up the moment that Stola got Matrix Code. Basically because there was no alternative. So a lot of developers saw that it was the best time to develop software. And in a way it is. But for example, this case, Rhino Pro J, okay? The interface looks really basic. If you look for it online, you might not even find it. They don't even have a proper website yet. But at this very moment, I think it's one of the best options. I did say at the beginning, and I will say it again, I don't get paid by anyone to do this. I'm just saying what I want to say, okay? I think that this is one of the best options so far, basically because of its cost. It's not fancy software that costs £6,000. It costs much less than that. And it's a company that they are doing things slowly and quite, they are developing tools that make sense. If you open Matrix, you will see a lot of tools like Halo Builder, like, I don't know, even the Signet Ring Builder. Yes, you can do it, but in my opinion, they are not right. Like, I don't really use them. I only use like 50% of that tool. I've never used as I'm supposed to be using it. So this is one of the options. Basically, for example, this plugin is focused on gemstones. It's an Italian software, so I assume that they are more focused on the Italian market, which is more like pave jewelry. You can make a pave on a mesh, for example. And I think the price is like, I don't know, $6,000, something like that. Sorry, $600. So it's quite affordable and it kind of does the job. Right. So that would be all in terms of plugins or software for Rhino. Then we have 3Design. What is 3Design? 3Design, basically, they have been making jewelry for quite a while. Probably since maybe 10 years or a bit more than that. It's quite strange. Like, it's extremely powerful. Like, you can make all the paves you want. It doesn't crash. You don't need like a crazy computer to use it. But the problem is that it's quite solid based. So those of you who are familiar with Rhino, you will see that you have curves, surfaces, and solids. And you can play with that as much as you want. You can basically, you have a certain degree of freedom. It's not that you don't have it with 3Design, but the way it makes jewelry is quite different. It works with solids. It's similar to how's it called SolidWorks, which is a software for mechanical engineering. So the way it organizes the workflow, it's a bit strange. But one of the main advantages is that it's much more parametric from start. So imagine this ring that it's on the screen. If you want to change the stone sizes and the finger size, just 2 clicks and you got it done. And you could do this in the version of 10 years ago. Personally, I don't like it because it doesn't match with the way I think and the way I create jewelry. So, but it's very valid, especially for jewelers who are like bench jewelers, because the way it organizes all the tools and all the commands, it's very logical, and it's also quite easy to learn. So I think it's a valid option. Right. Pricing. Well, you probably can take a screenshot of this. All of this is on the website, so it's public information. Yeah, so basically Rhino 6, that's the price on the website. It has a basic render tool. It's like a render viewport. So rather than making a render, you just create like a simple render, which it does the job in a way. So I might make another webinar soon regarding rendering, but yeah, Rhino has a basic render. You can import some jewelry materials into it and it looks a bit better. Rhino Pro J and Panther have similar prices. With Rhino Pro J, you don't get a render. Just briefly about rendering. You can either render inside a software like Panther or like Matrix Gold or 3Design, or you can just get the file and bring it to another software like Keyshot, for example, or Maverick Render, and then just render it in there. Okay. Or for example, what I do sometimes, if I want a very cool render, I don't even render it myself. I send it to someone else to render. If it is quite a valid option as well. Also, I made my point at the end of this. Just please don't ask me if I can get you the software. I don't really support hacking. Just please pay for it, okay? Or just use a trial version. Rhino, you get a trial version of 30 days. Rhino Pro J, I'm pretty sure you can do it as well. Panther, 30 days. Peacock, it's free, so have fun. Matrix Gold, I don't think you can get a demo for that. 3D Design, I don't think you can get a demo either. And ZBrush, to be honest, I'm not sure. In terms of ZBrush being parametric, it's not really parametric because ZBrush is just for organic modeling. So once you made something, you can go back. But parametric and organic modeling, it doesn't really go together. Okay, I just want to check on students for a second, just to make sure that everyone could join. Okay. Okay, I can see. How do I see it? Okay. It's the first time I do this on Facebook Live, so sorry for the mess. I promise I'll be more organized next time. Okay, I think we're kind of good. Right, so, whoa. Pricing. Yeah, there are other softwares. There is another one called Jewellery CAD Dream, but to be honest, I could not find information about pricing, and I could not find information about who is doing it, and I don't really know the software enough to give my opinion about it. Okay. What else? Okay. Right. This is what what all this webinar is about. Okay. All of this structure with the software, about what happened and all of this, it means this. When somebody releases a new software, does it mean that it's better than an old one? Probably it is, but it doesn't mean it is. Okay. It's not really a fact. As I said, you can no longer buy Matrix and Rhino Gold. So you can still use your old ones, of course. Nobody's going to take that away from you. Do you need to update every time there's a new version? Not really. In some cases, it's better not to do it. Personally, what I do is wait until somebody else does it and just ask them if it's worth it. And then if it's worth it, I'll do it. I did, for example, upgrade my Matrix, was it 7 to Matrix 9 for one specific tool that basically, I'm not going to go in depth now in terms of CAD, but when you make a CAD file, you need to prepare it for a 3D printer. So that CAD file needs to be, let's say, prepared. It needs to be done right. It needs to be ready for the 3D printer. They basically develop a tool that makes the meshes, makes the files ready for 3D printing much faster. So just for that, I decided to update. Okay. Do you need parametric technology? Maybe you do. Maybe it makes your life easier, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you don't need it at all. As I was saying, just to give a quick example of what I do, everything I do is custom. I never make the same ring twice. I never make the same ring, let's say, in a bigger center stone or a variation of a design. I've never done that. Well, maybe once. So for me, something parametric, it doesn't really make sense. If you're like working with collections maybe, and you know that you're going to make the same ring in different gem details or like, yeah, finger sizes, then it might make sense. Always consider your background, your skills, and your budget. What do I mean by that? For example, I use Matrix at the moment, but probably 80% of the tools I use are Rhino tools. Why is that? Because I started making Rhino before I was even shaving. So for me to make a ring in Rhino, it's quite easy. I don't need fancy tools. I use gemstones, of course, because basically they make my life easier. I use gem cutters and I use finger sizes. But not much more than that. Well, I also use powder stones. But yeah, you need to be aware of what you need really and what you're able to do without somebody selling you something. And of course, budget. This makes a massive difference. Okay, it's not the same to invest this amount of money than to invest just Rhino. For example, one of my most popular courses at the moment is Rhino for Jewellery, and it's just Rhino. I don't teach, well, I teach Matrix as well, but if you can get away with Rhino, why not? Okay, questions so far. I'm gonna check my Facebook page for a second to see if there is something here. I thought Matrix Rhino Gold is an industry standard. Yeah, so both softwares are kind of popular, let's say. Like, a lot of people still have them. One of the things I was saying a few months ago, because I get many people who ask me which software should I buy. Everything I've been saying is it's a really bad moment to invest in software when all of this mess with Stola was going on, still going on now. So yeah, you can still use Matrix and Rhino Gold. Many people are still using it. That's basically what I've done personally. I decided not to update, and I'm quite confident I did the right thing. Like, for me, spending thousands in any software, I just don't think it was needed. I didn't need to update, so I just didn't do it. Rhinos for 90 days, correct. I don't know if you're able to save or not, doesn't matter. Experience with Blender, I know about it. I know some people use it for rendering, but no, not much. Okay, I'll check other questions. You send a video. Okay. Oh. As I said, if any of you have any questions for me later, you can just add me on Instagram, page. You can contact me via online jewelry courses on Facebook. Which software do you use for jewelry rendering? I use Keyshot. Keyshot, it's quite cool. If you go to my Facebook page, online jewelry courses, the promo video, you just scroll down before this event. I made a video on the 26th of March. So in there, you have a link to my courses and a video with some examples. I must say, rendering is like another world as well. Like, some people only do render professionally. All of the stuff I do, it's for the jewelry trade, so I don't work with final customers. That means that for some cases, some of my customers, they are okay with me showing just a screenshot. Okay, so sometimes I just get the software, I record the screen, even with WhatsApp sometimes. I know that looks a bit weird, and I just send the video on WhatsApp. For me, rendering is an investment. Like, to make renders like the one you've seen in this video, I need to spend at least 45 minutes for each ring, for each piece. So it might, in some cases, it doesn't make sense. Okay. Okay. What are some useful plugins for vanilla Rhino? I don't even know what that is. Vanilla Rhino. If you wanna contact me later, I could find out. I might make another webinar next week for just questions in general. Okay, if you have any questions, as I said, just contact me later and I'll help you out. Yeah. 3D printing. 3D printing for jewelry, of course. Well, hang on. Before we start, something to consider when doing 3D printing. This webinar and the type of jewelry that I do, it's mostly for fine jewelry, kind of commercial jewelry. I don't like the word commercial, let's say traditional jewelry. So there are certain printers that are mostly designed for that, basically because it's what most people want, traditional jewelry. However, if you're into, let's say, contemporary jewelry, like something a bit more creative, you might not need the printer that I'm going to talk about right now. You could get away with something much simple and much cheaper, like MakerBot, like, I don't know, this kind of hobbyist printers, which you can get away with, I don't know, £800 or even less. So you might not need to make a huge investment if you're just testing. Okay. Right, I'm going to talk about few 3D printers, the one that it's really worth talking about, really. Don't forget, Keyshot is about 1000. Yes, correct. Yeah, the latest version of Rhino is quite good. Yep, I agree. Yeah. Another thing that it's possible is to use a rendering service. So there are rendering farms, which is basically someone with a bunch of computers together, connected together, and they can achieve massive, like really good quality rendering. Okay. It's really up to you, like if it's worth spending time and money on that or not. So if you have a website and you're going to show it to the final customer, then I think it makes sense. Okay, 3D printing. The models that I'm going to talk about now, for example, SolidScape, I'm just going to talk about general SolidScape. There are like, I think it's 5 different models. So basically it's the same technology that has been improved. Okay. I'm just going to mention advantages and disadvantages. Okay. Advantages. You can 3D print something with no supports. What do I mean by supports? When you build a ring, you cannot just build it in thin air. You need something to hold it together. So basically how this SolidScape works, let me see if I can find a picture. It basically builds with a support layer. Okay, I got it here. Right. So you see this picture on the right? You have the blue layer and the purple layer, which could be orange as well. Probably this one is better. Okay. So basically, you print here. Okay. So you see the purple layer basically holds everything together. The actual wax is the thing in the inside, the blue thing here, which you have here. So you print with 2 materials, and the one on the outside, the dark blue one, the purple one, basically will melt away, and it's gonna, all you will see is the final wax. Okay. So because you're working with a support wax and a real wax, you don't need supports. You don't need to support with anything. So the moment that you're done, it goes away and you end up with the wax. In terms of quality of the wax, it's one of the preferred ones. Like all casting companies will say yes to this. If you could be in a situation that you print something with a printer and the casters, they just might tell you, we don't want to cast this for you. So it's something quite important to consider. Yeah, the polymer material, it's like a support that will melt away. Sorry, I'm just replying to Rashi. Okay, so yeah, it casts really well. Problem, one of the disadvantages, let's say, rather than problem. Many moving parts. That means when something breaks, you really don't want to try to fix it because you're going to make it worse. It's quite complex to use. Like the way it works internally, it's quite complex. So it's not one of those printers that you can just take the risk and try to fix it yourself. And yeah, a lot of things could go wrong. But still, I must say I've been using this printer for 3 years and it's quite reliable. So it's one of the best ones in terms of productivity. But again, this is, if you have a printer like this, you need to have a minimum of waxes to be doing every day or every other day. It's a printer that it works really well when you have, let's say, 2 rings to print every day. If you have an area that you print, like the building area that it's called, if you fill that plate to the top, always completely full, it's not good for the printer. You need to treat it with care, let's say, like maybe 2 rings one day, 2 rings another day, and 2 rings another day, rather than 6 rings in one day, if possible, of course. Initial cost, yeah, it's quite expensive. I'm going to talk about pricing later. Maintenance cost, it is quite expensive to just the maintenance of it. And something that it's very important, on the previous picture, on this one, I've shown you, like, for example, okay, you see these pipes over here? These are the pipes that basically position the wax on the building plate, on the building area, okay? These are called heated pipes. So these pipes, they always need to be at certain temperature. If these pipes, for whatever reason, the temperature in the room increases or decreases, you have a problem. For example, I'm from Spain, and this is something that happened to someone I know in Spain. This printer, at least in Spain, maybe not in other places, but at least in Spain, it needs to be in a room with aircon all day, even if you're not using the printer. So it's the cost of the printer, the aircon, and the cost of the aircon working always. Basically, the printer doesn't like temperature changes. If, let's say that the aircon fails, those pipes will dry out and you will need to replace them, which the last time I checked, it was around £400. Yeah, you can print multiple items simultaneously. You just print with layers. So you just print different rings at the same time. You just build like all at the same time. So the jet needs to touch every ring, and then you just build layer by layer. It's delicate. Yes, up to a point. It needs to be, you cannot have a printer like this in a dirty workshop. Well, you can, but then you will be taking risk. It's like, it should be in a lab. It's like delicate, it needs to be clean, it needs to be taken care of. To be fair, all printers are quite delicate, okay? EnvisionTech, this is a Micro Plus. You can work with different materials. With SolidScape, you cannot. You can, I believe that you need to use the materials for EnvisionTech. You cannot put whatever material you want. But for example, you can use a material to cast. So you just print it and cast it directly. Or you can print with a material that it's harder, and you can make a mold directly from that. I believe that there are more materials, but these are the main ones. Okay. In general, it's faster than SolidScape. It also depends on how many pieces you want to print. The building area, it's it's smaller. It builds upside down. I don't really want to go in depth in terms of DLP and all these sort of names for the printers. Just want to make it easier for you to understand. One of the disadvantages is that it needs supports. As you can see on this picture, the rings are built upside down. So they basically build the rings attached to a plate. So once the printing is done, you need to take them out and cut the supports, which for a normal ring it could take maybe a minute, 2 minutes. So it's not that much. But supports is something that you need to be careful about. Where do you put the supports and how do you put the supports? It's one of those things that once you know how to do it, you're fine. But it takes a bit of time to practice. Technical support has proven to be complex. Some people have mentioned this before, so I thought it was worth mentioning. EnvisionTech works with resellers, so basically it depends on which country you are and which part of the world you are. Formlabs, one of my favorites. This is Form 3. I haven't used this one, I use Form 2. It works in the same way as EnvisionTech. It builds the model upside down. So basically here you have this plate that it goes down, then it starts building from here and it goes up. Okay. It's not right, it's being used for jewelry, but initially Formlabs made this printer for product design. It works quite well. You can change the material. I believe in the Form 3, I'm not sure about this, but I believe it's open material. That means that you can use whatever material you want. I know on the Form 2, basically it works with a cartridge that you need to buy from Formlabs. So you cannot put whatever material you want. Regarding multi-material and open material, multi-material, I'm just trying to say that you can use more than one material. Open material means that you can put whatever material you want inside. What do I mean by that? This is like a marketing or like a commercial policy from some 3D printers. Some manufacturers will tell you, use my material only. If you use somebody else's material, you lose the warranty. This happens. I don't want to mention names because I don't want more people to hate me, but that's what happens, okay? Like, you can take the risk and do it yourself, but then you will potentially screw everything up a little bit. Other printers, they have another policy, which is, we sell you the printer, do whatever you want. Personally, I think that's the future. Like, at the moment, the business now is not so much on the printers, it's on the resins. 5 years ago, it was quite difficult to find resins that could be cast properly. Well, maybe 8 years ago. Now it's quite easy. There are some people making really nice resins. So, as I said, the business is more on the resins rather than on the 3D printing. Rather than on the print, I mean. Disadvantages, remove supports. With the Formlabs, it's quite easy. So, yeah. Technical support to be complex. I think there's a mistake for me. I shouldn't have done this here. Support, as far as I know, it's great. This is the one that technical support has proven to be complex, actually. B9, it's a really good printer. I really like it. You can basically add material. It works the same way as the Formlabs. It's smaller. It's quite cute. The first model they did, it was quite ugly because it had like a projector in there. I'll show you a picture. Okay. So basically it was this, which looks a bit like a spaceship. So basically you have a DLP projector attached to it. Okay. Yeah, but the new model, it's quite nicer. The same post-processing has a bit of, whoa. You need to remove supports, which is quite easy. It's quite fast, I must say. A Siga, multi-material printer, open material, you can put whatever material you want, and it's really fast. I don't want to go much into technical details, but what makes this printer different is that the plate, sorry, not the plate, the tank is flexible. So that, for some technical reason, it makes the printing much faster. Right, then we have this one, which the first thing that I think when I look at it is that it's quite ugly. It doesn't really matter. This printer has been designed in another way. It's open material, multi-material. It's extremely accurate, probably even more than SolidScape or Project. The design has been designed in a way that, for example, you see this little ugly shape here? This is designed so that when you take the tray and the waxes out of the printer, you will always have a bit of like a leak. You will have some resin pouring down. It's like gravity, you can't help it. Because of this design, what you avoid is the resin to go on the screen. It's something silly, but it makes a difference. And the whole printer has been designed with this mentality in mind. Yeah, it's quite fast, it works well. It's really simple, the way it works, so not many moving parts, not many complex pieces, and the support and people dealing with that are quite nice. Right, a bit of pricing. I don't have the pricing for some of them. I didn't mention the project. You can find that reference online. It's pretty much like a SolidScape, but bigger and better and more expensive. When it comes to 3D printing, the main thing that you need to consider is how many you're going to print and if it's worth spending so much money. Some people have lost money because of buying a 3D printer in the wrong time. Like, you need to make sure that you're going to print so much, okay? So personally, for example, I really like Uvital V9, even a Siga that is more expensive. The same way as software, I do not have any agreement with anyone. I'm just talking based on experience and experience of people I know. Okay, I'll just quickly check on students. Okay, I think we're all good. Inbox, 1 second. Okay. Okay. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can contact me later, and I'll try to help you out with that. Things to consider when buying a 3D printer. As I said at the beginning, which type of jewelry you're gonna make. If you're gonna make chunky bracelets to express your feelings and all of that, don't spend your money with something like this. You could probably get away with something like a MakerBot or something much more simple. Consistent supply of material. This is crucial. It's easier when it comes to printers that could work with any material, but it has happened before that you buy a 3D printer and then the supplier can no longer supply the resin. So you will be stuck with a 3D printer that you cannot use. This is probably the main reason why I would always recommend buying a printer that allows to use any resin that you want. For the record, when I say resin, it's not the same as wax. Wax is wax. So SolidScape works with wax. Project works with wax. On the other ones, most of them you can either select, you can decide yourself whether you want to use wax or resin. It's entirely up to you. What I would always suggest is what I'm saying here. Always order sample before you buy them and test with someone who has the printer. So what I would do, order a sample from whoever wants to sell you the printer, but then find someone else who's using the printer and ask for another sample, and then make sure you can cast it properly. I would even give that sample to few casters, a few casting companies, to see if they can cast it properly. Some resins that you can cast properly in 18 white, you cannot cast them so well in platinum, for example. Yeah, then consider if it's just for yourself or if you would be offering this as a service. And check, you need to make the maths of it. Like, what's the cost of printing one resin? How many can you make? And all of this. It is nothing as powerful as a spreadsheet. Question so far. I'm going to check on this again. Right, I'm going to open Matrix. I'm going to show you how to make a ring in Matrix just quickly. I believe that this seminar is going to be recorded automatically, so it's going to be available for you on the Facebook page. Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a simple ring. Probably I'm going to make a halo. I'm going to show you what I mentioned before, that I use only certain commands, certain parts of the matrix tools, not all of them. Okay, I'm just opening my matrix and I will start with that. Yeah, as you can see, Matrix takes quite a while to open. Rhino is much faster than that. Could be a good moment now while I open this to mention my online courses. As I said, I'm just providing guidance on this seminar. I'll show a little bit how I do it in Matrix, but you have no obligations to join any of my courses. That's my website, which is going to be on the Facebook page. I have Rhino for Jewellery, just Rhino, Matrix, and then Rhino for Jewellery in Spanish, okay, and Keyshot. That's all so far, okay. I'm preparing new courses, but they are not ready just yet. Okay. If you like the page, I would suggest you check on like, so you'll be up to date with new webinars that I'm going to be doing, especially while we are all in quarantine or self-isolation. Okay, so that's my matrix. Just want to make sure that you can see it properly. Okay, there might be a bit of a lag in terms of how you see everything, but I'll try to go a bit slower. Okay. Okay. So for example, I'm just gonna open a ring I did yesterday. I think it was. Yeah, actually, this one you will see the render on a render made in Keyshot on the Facebook page. I think it's on the cover. So that's exactly this one. Okay. I'm not gonna make this one. Well, I'm gonna make something similar to this. Okay. So first thing, I would start with the finger rail. As you can see in Matrix, you can choose finger sizes. Of course, depending where you are in the wall, you would go with different region type. So I would say just size M, which kind of equals size 7 in the US, pretty much. Then I have here all my gemstones. So I'm gonna go for an oval, let's say 6x4. Now let's make it a bit bigger. Okay. So now I position the stone in there. All I need to do is move it up. Always remember to allow a bit of space here. And now I'm gonna start building the shank. So I have this finger rail. I can make an offset of 1.8. I always make 1.8. And then I'm gonna draw the front of the ring. So I'm gonna make this, make an offset of 1.8, and I'm gonna position the side of the shank. When it comes to modeling, I understand that some of you might not be CAD designers or might not even be jewelers. There is no proper way to do it, okay? The way you do it is the way you do it. That's all it matters, okay? I'm just saying this because some people might think, oh, I would never make a ring like that. Okay, fair enough. It's just quite personal, okay? I'm just drawing the front of the ring. So just like that. Okay. So then, let's say, I'm going to change the design a little bit from what I had initially thought. This is going to be the bridge of the shank. Sorry, that's going to be the shank. That's going to be the bridge. So this could be 0.9. I have a document. Now it's a good time to mention it. It's a YouTube video as well. You check my YouTube channel. I'll just show it here for you for a second. If you look for jewelry standards, jewelry production standards. Okay, so this one over here. I think it was 3 weeks ago. I basically made a video explaining all the thicknesses and a bit of introduction to everything, how the close should be, the side thicknesses, the height of the prongs, all the basic stuff. Okay, and it's on YouTube for free. It's also on my courses, but you have it there if you want. Okay, so let's carry on with this. I'm just gonna make a bit of a chamfer edge here, which we can just do a circle. It is something to consider when modeling in general. Like, if you do it, all my courses and everything that I do in terms of online, I never do it the faster way. Probably because I'm training Rhino. I tend to do it in the way that I'm more confident doing it, that I am sure that it's gonna be right. Man, you make it look so easy. Thank you. Well, I haven't even started. Okay, so that's the outside. I'm just gonna make the mirror of it. Well, mirror, I get rid of this. So now I join it. Two open curves. See, that's a little problem I have here because I made a bit of a mistake. Can just do this and use blend curve. So I blend this with this and this with this. Okay, so now it's gonna be one closed curve. Okay. Okay. So now I'm gonna draw the side profile. Also, something important when making is something that you need to take into consideration. Like the way the software developers think they make jewelry, quite likely it will not be the way you will make jewelry. That's why, and this is a personal opinion, I always choose to go with the basics. Rhino. Okay. It's like the logical, at least logical in my head. If like keep it simple, you know, if you can do it with the basics, do it with the basics. It's not just, it's gonna be cheaper for you, but also it's gonna avoid a lot of problems. Okay, so that's the side of the ring. All I'm going to do now is use this command called curve from two views. Okay, so I've just drawn this line over here. Okay, so now if I make a mirror to the other side, I already have like the basics of this basically. Okay, I'm gonna make it straight. Yeah, I'm gonna make the shank straight. So I'm just gonna use this and split it with this. So split this with this. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna make a pull from here to here. Now it's gonna work. I split this with this. It's not working. Interesting. Let's go crazy then. I'm gonna extrude this. And I'm gonna extrude this as well. And I'm gonna split this with this. Okay, so I have one side of the shank, and if I mirror it to the other side, I have the other side. Then I can just duplicate these edges and these edges. Join them and make a loft. Whoa. Join them first and join. That's weird. Okay. I'm gonna loft this first. Something that you need to bear in mind when you're modeling jewelry or anything that you're modeling really is the fact that if something doesn't really works, which it usually works when I'm making a tutorial, when I'm doing it by myself at home, it works perfectly, but when there's someone watching, it doesn't work. Okay, so what you need to know is how to fix it. Okay, that's the main shank. Then now I'm gonna build the bridge of the shank. Usually I would make it in layers, properly organized. I'm not doing it now, but yeah. So one of the main advantages of matrix is the layer structure. Effectively, they are just Rhino layers, but they are set up in a way that if I make gem 1, if I create a gem, it will automatically be placed in the gem 01. If I now create another gemstone, because it's a smaller stone, well, because it's a different cut of stone, it's a round diamond, it will be on another layer. Okay, so it's like little things that help you keep everything more organized. Okay, so that was the main chunk. Now I'm gonna build the bridge. Bridge here could be 9, and I can just extrude it, kind of like this. And now what I can do, for example, is make the edges a bit softer, like this, and now chop it in half by making a Boolean difference. And now I don't want this to be so flat. I'm going to change it a little bit. So I'm going to scale it down, but now I'm going to use a bounding box with 5 control points on X. And I'm going to change the shape of this one. Okay, so it's tapering a little bit. Looks a bit better. Okay, what else? This is not exactly right. I'm going to show you one of the tools from Matrix that I like the most. Okay, as you can see, I've just changed the way this is placed. Okay, so as you can see from the top view, I changed this side. And now if I use this magic command, it will make the copy on the 4 angles. Okay, I could probably get rid of this later. Okay, let's do it now. I could just make a line. I am really looking forward for you guys to provide me with feedback later on, or now, or whenever you want, just so that I can improve my future webinars. So as you can see, the bridge is done. Later on, I would join this with this, but before that, I need to make the builder. So this is like a tool to make builders, for example, to make the settings. I would never make a setting like this. I just don't like it. So I would do it differently. How could I do it? First of all, I would remove this. No, I'm gonna use this command. I have a list of builders. I think it's just for roundstones actually. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just gonna put the under bezel first. Okay. 1 second. I just want to check again on people watching the seminar. Oh, I got some friends on the seminar. Okay, that's good. Okay, so this would be one part. This would be another part. Now I just need to make the cloth for this. There is one way that I kind of enjoy doing the clothes in a certain way. Enjoy, so to speak. Just get a profile here. Sorry, a line has to be here, and then get another line in the center. Let's say something like this. probe like this, just on the center of the ring. And now just with these curves, what you could do is this blend curve. So with this, you have an approximation that would help you to make a claw. Okay. Okay. It's something. Yeah. Probably make it a bit longer, so I would extend the curve on the top. And I want this to be touching the under bezel, so I'm going to change it again. So it's more like this. I'm not a big fan of this design. I would probably make it a bit differently if I was to do it again, but it's kind of valid. So now here I would just need to do these cutters again, which is here. So you see, this is nothing parametric whatsoever. This is old-fashioned Rhino tools, nothing really fancy, but it does the job. If I do the same here, okay. So I should probably have made this a bit higher, but it gives you an idea of how matrix work. That was the main point of all this. That would be pretty much everything for now. I hope that you guys enjoyed this webinar. As I said, I'm gonna make another one next week in Spanish, which is gonna be the same as this. And probably in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna make another one. I still don't know what exactly. So based on your opinion, based on your feedback, I can probably sketch out what I'm gonna be talking about. As I said, if you guys have any questions, anything that you wanna ask me, feel free to contact me via Facebook, via online jewelry courses, and I'll do my best to help you. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I'll see you again soon.